Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Calico Live session where we talk about Kubernetes and learn about open source projects. Today is an special episode because I'm here with Parth, one of our Calico ambassadors. We're going to talk about how to become a Calico Big Cat. And if you're curious, the Big Cat is a community member who helps us to spread the word about Calico. But I'm getting ahead of myself as always. So I'm going to give the mic to Parth and he can do his introduction.
Hey Riza, I think there's an echo that I'm able to hear. I'm not sure if it is coming from your end.
Maybe you have another tab open with the stream.
Do you want me to rejoin?
Sorry.
Okay. Let me fix it. I'm sorry, I'm not sure whether I have another tab open. This would be the only tab. I'm hearing the echo and it's disturbing me. I'm not able to concentrate.
Oh, I think we can fix that.
Okay.
So it is not from my end. I'm sort of thinking maybe there is something at your end.
Do
Maybe
you
the
want me to rejoin quickly?
tabs. Sure. Like always in a live session, technical difficulties. Hello again.
I'm good now. Yep. I'm able to hear properly. Okay. Thank you so much, Reza, for having me on this another session of Calico Live. Apologies, audience, for this hiccup. It's 11:34 p.m. IST at my end, and there are only few things that keeps me awake at this point of time. Open source is definitely one of them. So I expect the audience to be able to learn something within the next 30, 40 odd minutes, and to be able to take something productive, something fruitful. And just to give you a sneak peek about what we are going to talk today is about contributing to various open source communities, particularly Calico, because I have been a part of Calico for over 14 odd months now. If I may share my screen, give me a quick moment. All right. Reza, are you able to see the screen?
Yep, I can see your screen. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Parth Goswami. I work at Cloudera as a customer enablement engineer. More about me at the later end of this session. This session is about how to be the next Big Cat. Big Cat is one of the ambassador programs organized, or not exactly organized, but governed by Project Calico. Its community, its open source community end. And I have been a Big Cat myself for over 14 months, and Reza and I thought about sharing my experiences of contributing to this wonderful community. In what ways we can contribute, in what ways we can get involved with the projects, with the wonderful folks. And so I thought of composing a list of the contributions, and also thought of talking about open source at large. So let's take a look at the agenda. This agenda is designed not just uh, for but also for absolute beginners who are completely new to open source. So we'll touch some points about what is open source, why open source, ways to contribute, and the ambassadorship program, and how can you get started as a novice, or even as a experienced developer, but as someone who has not contributed to open source as much. And then what has been my experience being a big cat for over a year, and what ways I have contributed, and what were the challenges uh, in contributing to this community. Not exactly this community, but contributing to open source at large. All right, let's right away dive into it. So, what is open source? So, for anybody who is completely new to open source, um, if you're trying to look the answer to this question, you might come across multiple definitions, multiple explanations. I try to go with one thumb rule, which relates to the four basic principles or four basic freedoms that the open source community follows: the freedom to use the software, the freedom to modify the software, the freedom to distribute the software, and also the freedom to distribute the modified software. So basically, any code, any software that allows you to look at the code, that allows you to go through it, that allows you to distribute it, that allows you to use it, can be termed as open source. uh, yeah, that's pretty much about what exactly open source is. Now let's try to understand a very important aspect of open source, and that is why open source. Of course, as I said, any software, any project, any community that allows you to take a look at its code, without without costing you a dime, that allows you to use it, allows you to modify it, allows you to distribute it, that is termed as open source. And because it is free and accessible, I don't see a reason for you not to try your hands upon it. So yes, so that gives me a very straightforward answer as to why open source, because it's definitely free and it's accessible, and that alone should serve as a very good motivating factor to try out new projects, or to try out new technologies. Next is, you get to learn new skills, new tools, new technologies. Your day-to-day office work or office setup or framework might not allow you to have that flexibility of trying your hands on every other new skill that gets launched or sandboxed every other new week, because office, your environment, your company likes reliability, likes security. Open source tools might not be that reliable or secure, because they are not hardened. They are not known to be hardened. But that point shouldn't let you keep away let you stay away from at least trying those new technologies or tools or framework or whatever it is. So it's the best way for you to get your hands dirty, to have an access to those technologies, to those tools, and learn new skills. Again, next is, it attracts like-minded people. It is only because of open source that I have met wonderful people. It is only because of open source that I interact with Reza frequently, for various contributions. And it is only because of open source that I have made very good connections. They have taught me. We have discussed on lot many points which otherwise wouldn't have been possible. I am a full-time remotee for over 3 years, and if it was not for open source, I am not sure how much my networking would have been taken place in real world. So yeah, so open source helps you attract like-minded people. Next is, you can exercise control over code that you don't like. Uh, by getting involved with open source communities and with open source projects, you understand the industry best practices. You understand what it takes for a maintainer to maintain a project, what exactly the maintainer does to maintain that project, in what ways they govern the project, in what ways they make the code better. So you get that exposure once you start interacting with them, once you start shadowing with them, uh, and once you start being with them on a regular basis. Next is, our IT world keeps on changing. It, it keeps on changing rapidly and only for better. But for you to be able to be at par with those technologies, be aware about what are the changes. The best ways to be very efficient with the hands-on. So if any particular tool has an open source version out of it, and it is not costing you to try your hands on, if it is not charging you anything in terms of fees or anything or subscription amount, uh, and if it is allowing you to try the technology, so I think you couldn't ask for a better solution, uh, better way to keep up with the rapidly changing world. And then you can build connections, your personal brand. You can involve in various activities, you can post about your experiences, about your activities on various professional platforms, and you can keep on building connections, and that is how you build your personal brand. And of course, it's fun, it's definitely fun, it's fun, and that is the reason I'm awake at this point of time and still interacting uh, with the community and with the folks out there. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about few of the ways to contribute to open source. Of course, there is code, then there is code related and beyond code. We'll try to understand what this code related and what beyond code exactly means. So, if you were to ask me personally what open source contributions means at least 5 years ago, the by default answer would have been that you have to contribute to the project in a code way, or in a, I mean, you have to get involved in some of the other way which relates to development. But that's definitely not the case. Even though we are engineers, there are a lot of stuff, there are a lot of tasks, there are a lot of requirements that are definitely not related to code, that are not related to development. Many of the fantastic open source contributors don't even have a development background. So those can be categorized into code related or beyond code. Let's take a look at some of the examples. Creating test environments. So you have come across a very interesting project or a tool, and you want to test whether that tool is compatible with your setup, with your environment, with your hardware or not. So you can just try to go ahead and create some test environments and see if a particular feature is working or not. So that doesn't necessarily require you to have the knowledge about what how exactly the code is built, or how exactly the product is built, but just that how exactly it runs. If you're able to understand how it runs, then that should be enough. So for testing, the testers create environments. You can replicate those environments and just confirm whether whether those test environments, test cases are working fine or not. Next is bug reports. If you are working on a project or on a community tool, and if you come across anything that is not working as opposed to the way it should, then you can definitely go ahead and create a bug report. There are a lot of platforms for it. One platform that I know is Bugzilla. You can go ahead and describe in detail about your environment, describe in detail about what is not working, what is the expected outcome versus what is the outcome that the feature is throwing. You can throw in some logs, whatever you wish, and you can create a bug, and the maintainer from that community, from the tool, will definitely be able to take a look and fix it. And open source contribution is not just fixing, it is letting the right people know that something needs to be fixed. That counts as a very valid source of contribution, or a very valid uh, point of contribution. Next is participating in Q&A forums. Suppose you have been working on a particular tool or a project for a good amount of time, and you are quite a guru or an expert in that domain. So almost every good open source project or a community has its own forum, has its own Q&A forum, or some of the users of that open source community have created a forum on some of the other platforms. So just try to find that and see if there are questions that you can answer. Try to answer those questions, and even a single valid answer uh, accepted by the community is considered as a very valid uh, example of open source contribution, because you are helping others to understand the issue that you faced, and you are saving their time. So it goes in that. Next is documentation and blog post. again, the documentation part, I can circle back to the bug report or creating test environment. Whatever experience I had in creating that particular test environment, or whatever experience I had in creating that bug report, I can create a documentation out of it, a detailed documentation or a blog post, so that anybody interested in digging deeper about that issue can read your blog, add to your blog, modify your blog, and that is how the community grows basically. Next is volunteering. You can try to find events or meetups going around nearby you, physical location or maybe virtual, and you can try to volunteer yourself. This instills the sense of community in you. You get to understand how exactly people work behind the curtain. What is it that takes out of people to contribute the time to those events or to those meetups, uh, apart from their day-to-day office work and schedule. Most of the meetups that I have been part of are were conducted on weekends, Saturday, Sundays. So people were passionate enough to travel, like back before COVID, they were passionate enough to travel to that venue. Volunteers were passionate enough to wake up early in the morning, reach the venue, and take care of the logistics and all. So that really instills the sense of community, and you feel very welcomed, very much valued. And volunteering is thing that I really cherished years of contributing to open source. And once I got a hold of things, how they're managed, how they're organized, I eventually started hosting meetups, eventually started organizing meetups, and also been a part uh, of uh, of events and of summits as well, uh, as uh, track chair. I mean, the chair for specific tracks or CFP reviewers and stuff like that. So that gives you a lot of exposure, that makes you aware about what it takes to be a part of the community, and it helps you build your network. And then you can always try to post your experience on number of public professional platforms. Last is mentoring. After certain years of experience, or not exactly years, but once you have enough experience of doing something, it can be either one of those things, for example participating in Q&A forums, or just writing blog post, or even volunteering. You can mentor other newbies, other folks who are trying to be a part of the open source community, or who are trying to join the community that you are already part of. Mentoring is just like teaching, and I always believe that teaching is learning twice. So that helps you be in the loop. And since you have already done the task or the activities that you are about to mentor, it doesn't take much time out of your schedule. So that sounds like a good deal for me. Next is ambassadorships. This is something that I would really love to talk about. Project Calico has its own ambassadorship program called as Big Cat's ambassador program. I applied for it in the month of June 2022, last year, and based on my profile, my background, I was selected to be the ambassador, and I started contributing to this community. And I'll share the exact ways that I've contributed in one of the next slides. But just to give you a background, why I decided to be a part of Calico community, and why I decided to be Big Cat ambassador, was because uh, I was working in a networking team on RHEL, and I wanted to also work on cloud native projects as well. So, given my experience on the networking end, and my inclination towards cloud native, I was trying to search suitable projects. This project Calico has very good solutions on cloud native based networking and security solutions. So this became a default choice for me, and I went through its project. I went through its GitHub, and it makes sense. It made sense to me. It made sense to me in terms of where I wish to be in next couple of years. So it had a lot of things to offer to me. So I applied for this program and I got selected, and since then uh, I have been trying my hands on this product. All right. So how do you get started with contributing to open source? First is learn basics about open source platform. Uh, GitHub, that's the perfect place for you to start. You don't have to uh, like know each and everything about Git to start. Basically, just know the real basics about it. What is a PR, what is a repository, and how to create a repository, how to clone a repository to your terminal, and how to create some content, how to push that content from your local repo to the remote repo. So just learn some basic stuff. Find a lazy Saturday afternoon, spend couple of hours, practice those learnings next day, Sunday morning, and I believe you're good to go to be able to start your contribution. Not exactly contribution, but at least start your journey of Git and GitHub. So learn the basics of open source platform. Uh, After that, try to understand where your passion exactly lies, whether it is cloud, whether it is AIML, whether it is cloud native containers. It can be anything. And then find projects associated with with your passions, because it helps you understand that project in a much better way. It helps you to associate yourself with the project, and if you are able to associate yourself with the technology, the contributions would come naturally to you. If you are someone who is very much interested in cloud and has experience in cloud, and you're trying to be an ambassador of a community that is relying on AIML, you can do well. But if you're someone who is completely new, I would suggest go with something that is already in your comfort zone, and then after a few months or few maybe few quarters, you can definitely try your hands on something new. But I took the first route of finding a project that was associated with my passion, that was networking. I already had some experience. And then once you are uh, able to find that project or a community or a tool, then talk to the community managers, try to talk to the project maintainers, and see what is it that they can offer you in terms of help, in terms of guidance, and what is it that you can offer to the project. Now, in what ways you can contribute, that depends upon your willingness to be able to spend time for that project, or in what ways the community manager going to going to interact, is going to take help from your end. So it depends upon that. Depends upon the discussion that you have. Next is navigate to the GitHub repository of that particular community, and there are lot of uh, issues that are being marked or tagged as friendly issues. For example, first time issues or beginner friendly or something of that sort, of documentation only. So just trying to find those issues where you are really comfortable contributing to it. And you can start only by fixing issues, but also by raising issues. As I told earlier, raising a bug is considered as a very valid open source contribution. Even GitHub recognizes it as a valid contribution. So if you are able to find some issues for yourself, that's fine. Or if not, and if you are able to come up with something that is not working as expected, you can create your own issue and work with the engineer or the project maintainer on that issue, and try to uh, give your uh, give your advice or suggestion or whatever it is, and then try to integrate into the community. There are a lot of community meetings that keeps on happening on a regular basis. For example, Calico conducts a community meeting every month. So you can try to be a part of it. You can try to uh, interact with them. You can try to understand what are the new features that are supposed to be rolled out or that are going to be rolled out, or if there were features that were rolled out in the last release. You can try that. uh, Create a test environment. You can simply write a blog post about that feature, what it does. uh, Try to think from the business perspective, try to think from the technical perspective, and just try to share your own learnings, your own perspective on that. on that test environment, and then pass it on. Whatever you are trying to do, uh, try to record it, try to document it, try to share it with your colleagues, with your peers, with the fellow ambassadors of that project, with the maintainers, and that is how you create a community. Yeah. Now, being a big cat, I was able to get involved with the community in various ways. The very first thing that I thought of doing was to get certified. So Calico has, I believe, four certifications. First is the foundational level certificate, certified Calico operator. Next is, I believe, it is on eBPF, and the next two are on Azure and AWS. So the very first thing that I did was to get certified, so that I would be much more aware about what exactly Calico is, how it is, how it behaves, and what exactly it does, what it has to offer. And it's a very good, very nicely curated course. It's a self-paced course. You can take the course at your own leisure and attempt the exam whenever you are confident enough. And yeah, so I took the course, I took the exam, and once I was able to crack it, I wrote a couple of blogs about my experience about the exam and about what is my understanding about Calico. So getting this certification done, I believe, should be your first priority, because if you're not aware about how the project works or how the product runs, uh, your contributions wouldn't have that quality. Your contributions wouldn't have, uh, yeah, basically they won't be the of the level that you would want them to be. So try to have that basic understanding, and certification gives you that curated way, approach, or list to go about learning that product. Once you're done, you can take this route of creating a blog post out of it, share it with a larger community, share it on Medium or LinkedIn or whatever other platform you feel comfortable with. You can share your experience about what are the things that you learned, what are the things that you feel that were missing out of from the certification, or what is it that you found challenging. Next is, so there is a Slack channel for all the big cats, and the community manager keeps on pinging, saying that, hey, this is the new course that we are about to release. Anybody here would like to volunteer and test it? Provide us some feedback, and we will try to incorporate that feedback before we call it a release. So there were two opportunities for me during this period of me being a big cat, and I volunteered for that. There are no deadlines as such, but yes, if you're able to provide the feedback ASAP, then they would be able to incorporate that and take care of the other logistical things, uh, and be able to release the course for the public, for the customers and partners in a sooner uh, on sooner date. So I try to test the course, um, and I jotted the outcomes and my understanding, and the so what was expected versus what was showcased. I tried to compare, and if I found anything that is mismatched, that was not in terms of that was not relevant to the actual outcome, I tried to jot down, and then I reached out to the community manager or the product or the course manager, and tried to have a word with them, saying that, hey, this is something that needs to be fixed or looked at, and the suggestions were the feedback were incorporated. So you this is where you try to learn in the best way, because the course is not out there for the general audience, and you are uh, one of those selected folks within the community who will be able to get your hands dirty. So I think this would be the best way for you to get really involved with the product. Next is, once you have enough experience, enough exposure, you can talk about a feature or a feature of that product, or a use case of that product in other events or summits or platforms. Calico hosted its own conference, about security and cloud native in back in December 2022 last year. I applied for a talk, submitted the CFP, it got selected, and then I talked about a use case where how Calico managed its IP address management, and how the uh, AKS, the Azure's Kubernetes service, leverage the Calico IPAM. So the talk was about that, and then I was able to repeat the same talk in Force Asia as well in the April of this year. Uh, so yeah, if you're able to represent Calico in such international forums, it would be a huge boost to the product and for yourself as well, because you get to attend such big summits and big forums as a speaker, as an international speaker, and you can talk, you can again share your experience, write a blog post about it, and talk about it on Twitter or on LinkedIn, etc. Next is while preparing for the CalicoCon talk, I was going through lots of documents on the Calico website, and I found an issue in one of the website, in one of the web page, and I raised a raised an issue about it, and it got fixed, and that can be considered as a very valid form of contribution, because you're helping something that is getting helping something get fixed that was not written the way it was intended. So yeah, documentation bug uh, are as old as the documentation, and if you are able to find something that is that needs a fix, please go ahead and raise a bug. Next is I represented Calico in some other events and conferences. Google developers group, it had its annual dev fest in 2022 in my hometown. And then Debian hosted a conference, mini DebConf in 2023 this year. And then Rackspace Company invited me for their internal event as an external speaker, excuse me, external speaker, and where I talked about how to contribute to open source, and discussed about the project Calico, its ambassadorship program, and how to be a big cat. So basically, if you are able to speak at such events, try to plug Calico, or not just Calico, but whatever community you're part of, because as an ambassador, you are supposed to represent those communities. You are supposed to be a POC for those communities, or be a representative of those communities. And if because of you 50 new people are being aware about, hey, Calico exists, or this is the product that they are having, it's a good thing basically. Yeah, so that's about it as of now. These are the contributions that I've made since I've become a big cat. uh, and yeah, are there any challenges? Yes, definitely there are. It's not all goody goody. Time bounds and burnout. You have to manage your office, you have to manage your other works, and then on top of that, you have to find some time out on weekends or Saturdays and Sundays, and try to contribute. So you will definitely feel burnt out. You will definitely feel that, is this all worth? So if this is all worth or not, I am not someone who can answer it for you. You are the best person who can answer for yourself. For me, it is worthwhile. uh, but yeah, with time, with enough experience, you begin to manage the time. Next is sustainability. A lot of folks come to me with very pumped up, and they say that yes, I'm going to start contributing to open source. They do start, but if I circle back to them after 6 months, I do not see them contributing to open source anymore. So what happens? So what happens is they put all their energy in the first couple of months, try to be here and there and everywhere, and try to make contributions in all forms, in all sorts of contributions, and then somehow they lose the enthusiasm or lose the passion. So I would suggest, take the other way. Even you are able to do it, even if you are able to contribute in a much more way, in a much more uh, better way, or in much more, say if you're able to make 10 contributions in a month, don't do that. make only two contributions and say and save the eight for next few months, because there will be a time where you might not have any opportunity to contribute, and if you get into that zone, then you will get lethargic or you will get lazy, and if your passion, like the flame of your passion, uh, it goes down, then it's difficult for you to bounce back. So in that case, I would say that whatever you do, ensure that you are sustainable. uh, Make few contributions, but ensure that those contributions are quality contributions. Nobody's asking you to write post and give three talks and submit 10 PRs in a month's time. If you're writing just one blog post a month, or giving a talk, say a couple of talks in a quarter, and raising one PR in 6 weeks, in every 6 weeks, that is completely fine. What is required is quality and not quantity. Last is imposter syndrome. uh, the product can be complicated. The community meetings might The folks in those meetings might be discussing about the new releases and features which you might not be able to understand, and this happens with everyone. This happens to me till date. So do not think that you're not at par with those folks, or not at par with the technology. Stay there, be persistent, hang on, you will be able to understand what's going on, definitely. Yeah, so that's all I had for challenges. Some links for you to refer after this talk. And about me, I am Parth Goswami. As I said, I am a customer enablement engineer at Cloudera, and I also own a community platform, parthgoswami.com. And yeah, thank you very much. Also, you can take a look at projectcalico.org. The handle at Twitter is Project Calico. You can take a look at its GitHub repo, and you can get involved on Slack, or discuss on other platforms as well. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Bart. Um, that was very insightful. The imposter syndrome happens to me too. Don't
Okay.
worry about it. Everybody gets it
Yes.
from time to time. Um, there was something.
Any questions?
Well, I do have a question. So you mentioned like contributing to open source helps building your network. Now, most people who are graduated um, and want to like gain some experience could use open source to like contribute, get their hands on codes and stuff. But something that just struck me is, will they be able to use that network to just like reach for jobs and stuff? Because I'm assuming like people in open source, most of them are employed in companies and can hire people, right?
Yes, yes, very true. Yes. So I can give you a very classic example. So one of my colleague, he started contributing to open source while he was in his college, third year or fourth year, and he has overall experience of about 4 to 5 years as of now, and he has switched his job at least two times, and neither of those times he was required to submit his resume or to apply to a portal, because of his open source contributions, which were already in the public domain, GitHub, LinkedIn, and all. The hiring manager himself reached out to him through this public platform, and he never had to create a very formal resume. So yes, if you are not building a network, if you're not reaching out to people, even in that case, there is a possibility that someone might reach out to you, and would ask if you're interested to work on that for that role. But on top of it, if you're creating some new connections, definitely you are making yourself visible, you are making yourself available to those people in whatever ways. And the first thing that they would like to know is whether you're okay, or whether you're looking for a switch. And if you say yes, then your work will speak for you. You might have to face less interview rounds, or the rounds may be the the same number as for others, but the complexity or the intensity would be much lower, because they already want to hire you in any case. So yes, so this definitely helps you if you are looking for a switch, not just for a switch, but if you're looking for some other exposure, people would readily be will always be able to be there for you, basically. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Thank you. Well, that's it all from me. I don't know if anybody else got a question. Let's just do this. So, if you guys got questions for Parth or me, send it in the chat. And if not, we can say the bye byes.
Yeah, before we bid goodbye, a couple of points. Do check out the webpage for Calico Big Cat program. If you are someone who is interested in or passionate about networking or security cloud-based cloud native solutions, this is something that you should really look at. And if you have any questions about the program, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Parth Goswami, and I'll be happy to answer any of the questions that you might have. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. So, if you are interested in becoming the next big cat, I'm going to write the URL on the screen and check Calico Big Cat and send that in chat for you guys. So here's the URL. And if you're in the chat right now, this is the URL. Just check it out. The ambassador program is can help you in various ways, and the best part is you can help us in various ways. So that's about it. Thank you, Bart. With that, I'm going to wait. We got a question. So
Do you have a recommended path to get started with Calico networking and cloud security? Yes. Go ahead and try to explore the Calico Certified Operator certification, the first certification that is curated specifically for the beginners to understand the Calico product and what it does in terms of networking and cloud security. It has labs, it has guides, it is a self-paced course, and it has an exam curated about the content at the end of it. So I would highly recommend you to start with that approach. And I also have a blog published. If you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, I would be gladly be able to share with the link to that blog post. I hope that I hope that helps.
thank you. There are also a couple of workshops available at Tigera.io tutorials. There is one about security that you can use for DOS attacks and stuff. Those are also interesting. Well, with that, I'm going to end this session. Thank you, Part. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for the
Thank you,
question.
Reza, for hosting me. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.